the right spot.
Okay, hi, welcome.
We're back.
We're back. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm also good. Oh shit, we left the door open.
I got it.
Okay, hang on. Take two. Okay, now we're back.
Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
Good.
Yeah?
It's been a week. It's been a week. We had, I feel like
today, Thursday.
It's Thursday. I trained last week. Weeks that I train,
Yeah.
I'm always whatever. That's like whatever. That's added
Busy.
busyness,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of hours that go into
Getting ready for it.
Yeah, in like usually like I don't want to give the impression I cram. I don't cram, but the prep is like the week prior is mental,
Yeah.
and then the actual work of like laying out the theory and putting it into like slides and whatever. And then like what I do is I go over the narrative in my head and then I create notes based on the narrative. And so even if I'm reteaching something I've done
Which
before,
will be next week.
I still, so even next week when I'm reteaching it, I still go over it.
Sure.
And I'll bet you in the 3 days leading up to it, I bet you like 8 hours I spend.
Yeah.
Like just kind of going over it. And I usually do it in the early mornings. All that to say, I don't know why I went down that rabbit trail, but it's a busy week. And then that just led into, I don't know, for whatever reason, I'm busy right now too. Lots of stuff going on in the brokerage.
Always is. Yep.
I'm not complaining. It's good. I'd rather be busy than not busy. But and then I just raced out of a meeting to come do this. So I feel like I'm catching up. We got some fun things to discuss today. I realized last time when we did this, I missed doing something. I like to try to do like a best practices thing.
Yeah.
And we didn't do one last time, but we had a million things to talk through. So anyways, needless to say, we have a best practices.
All right, cool. Yeah.
As I tip my hat.
Yeah, you got the
I am dressed very casual today.
Yeah,
I worked out. So here's what my day was.
Yeah.
I worked out at 7 a.m. this morning. And what is it right now? 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't stopped. I didn't go
working out, or
I didn't eat breakfast.
Yeah.
I didn't shower. So I stink right now.
Yeah.
But that was my day. It was like 7 a.m. all the way till now. I haven't even gone home. So
nice.
It was a hat. It's a sweatshirt. I had no in-person client meetings today. It was like Zoom.
Sure.
And then a couple things with some agents over the phone, and here we are. So,
sweet.
Yep. Okay, let's dive into the news. We have some big news this week, some interesting news to discuss.
Yeah.
Number one, dropped yesterday, I think. There's a massive BCFSA fine that's been handed out. And actually, so today's Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
This hadn't even dropped, I don't think, in yesterday's office meeting, because David would have most definitely brought it up. I think it dropped afterwards. It hit the news cycle by last night. I'm pulling up the article here because I don't know these people, but I want to like just talk about it a little bit. Yeah, so BC Realtors fined $200,000 for failure to disclose relevant information to clients. I'll summarize this a little bit. I'm sure that many of you will have heard this story, but I wanted to talk about a couple pieces of it. So this is a couple key things to point out. So here we have a sentence, we'll call it a sentence, that's been handed down in 2024. The infraction is committed in 2017.
Oh.
Let that one sink in for a second.
7 years? No, yeah, 7 years ago.
Yeah. So one thing I don't know the answer to here, and so this is David, we should bring this up in next office meeting. We should have Dave. I don't know, like how far back can BCFSA go? There's got to be some statute of limitations, but the complaint was lodged. So here's the thing. There probably is a time limit to when complaints can be lodged, or launched or whatever filed. The article, everyone should go on and read the article for themselves. But 7 years later, we're handing out $200,000 fines, $100,000 for each agent. Agents acted as, drumroll, limited dual agents, which we no longer have.
But we did then, didn't we? It hasn't been not a thing for 7 years.
No, we had limited dual agency in 2017.
Yeah.
The reason I'm mentioning that is like one of the reasons BCFSA got rid of limited dual agency was because it was leading to an increased amount of infractions.
Yep.
sometimes with no bad intent.
Sure.
Right.
Yep.
But it's that much more complicated. It's hard to be a dual agent.
Yeah.
In some circumstances, I would argue that in some circumstances, dual agency still makes more sense.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm not going to win that argument with BCFSA.
No. Clearly they didn't.
So these agents, and I don't know them personally. I read the infraction. They clearly did something wrong. But
they had to have done something really wrong for $100,000 each.
Well, they did, but I'm not gonna try to pretend I know more than I do. But
Sure.
I think if all of us went back upwards of 10 years into our files, particularly some of our limited dual agency files, we all have some breaches.
When was the complaint filed? Do you know? Did they say? Like, when did this person actually bring the complaint forward?
Yeah, it says here, I'm scanning. I want to say that it was actually not even right away. It was like 2 or 3 years later.
So they did it back in 2019-ish?
Yeah, it was 2019-ish, and it's taken this long to figure out. And I mean, I'm not going to get into all of it. And it's a pretty big thing. They bought this land that is on the ocean. It's in a zone that is deemed to be not buildable because of the way the water can rise. There wasn't proper disclosures made about this then to shack that was there. It wasn't like, it was considered seasonal, not long-term.
Mm-hmm.
Proper disclosures were not made of what this shack was, which at the time was purchased for, I think, $900,000. New owners buy it, claim that, hey, this wasn't handled properly. As it turns out, it wasn't. They have since built their own new mansion on another piece of the property. So who knows? I don't want to try.
But there's 2 agents.
There was 2 agents. They're a well-known team.
Yeah. I'll have to read it later.
I checked because I don't know these people. They're with Royal LePage now, actually. I don't know if they were with Royal LePage back then. I didn't do a deep dive, but it looks like they're with Royal LePage now. I went online, checked them out, like highly reviewed and rated, like loved people. Like these people do a lot of business and their clients rave about them. So that's interesting fact
just
too.
Like a mistake. I mean, you wouldn't think it was just on the mistake side if they were handing out.
No, I don't think it was a mistake. I actually read they screwed up.
Yeah.
They didn't, and they probably openly admit they.
But it was the 2 of them working for the client. Like how I'm trying to figure out how 2 different.
I think it's
agents,
a husband-wife or a partner combo, and then they handle both sides of the transaction. They rep the buyer and the seller.
Interesting.
I don't want to pretend to know more than I do because I don't.
I'm gonna read it later.
But
that's crazy.
Like $200K, $100K each.
You usually see that size for brokerages, not at the agent level.
Yeah. So
wow.
All that to say, on my reading, I think there's a clear infraction here where they did something wrong. Yeah. But fines are going way up.
That's massive.
So the reason I thought I should bring this to everyone's attention is, we actually just discussed this in the office meeting yesterday. We Little Oak and North Star, we are known. Other realtors make comments about our standard forms.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay? Yeah, that's true. Came up.
Most of the time it's good. Sometimes it's bad because it's seen as a pain in the ass.
Yep.
Right? People don't like it. Oh, why do you have this crap in there? Why do you have that crap in there? David will tell you himself that BCFSA, the governing parties, they love us.
Yeah. David's on top of that stuff, man.
We get audited. We breeze through audits.
Yep.
We, for the most part, have not dealt with fines. For the most part, our agents have not dealt with fines. Yep. We've always thought this is important, but this is now very important.
Yeah, really.
Because we're talking about serious amounts of money here. So, the fact of the matter is that this seemed like maybe there was an ethics breach, which ethics can't be covered by clauses and forms. Although, if proper disclosures and clauses are put into contracts, then it can protection. Clear the water if something appears to be ethics, maybe it wasn't, and you're just removing that chance by having everything in there properly. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's worth reading, and it's
Use
worth
the office templates.
I know that we are a pain in the ass when it comes to standards and forms and FinTracks and disclosures and all these things. This is not because we enjoy being a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
We would love not to do a lot of this stuff, but the stakes are high, and we need to be on the right side of things. And also, if you were to ever end up in a dispute or dealing with, E&O or whatever, your track record and your brokerage's track record means something in that conversation. These parties that lay out fines and penalties, they factor all of these things in. So our brokerage's track record and our agents' track record collectively
Yep.
are valuable,
Mhm.
and you're a part of that, as you know, as part of the brokerage. So,
Wow.
so whatever, that was worth mentioning. It's fascinating, and you know, these fines are only going one direction, and I think for the most part, this is good for our industry. I'm not looking at this going, this is crap.
Yeah.
I do think there's been some fines that have been levied where it's like, okay, that's
Yeah.
a little extreme.
Mhm.
But I rather be extreme this way than for a long time we were extreme the other way. Like I remember back in 2005 and 4 reading articles where it's like blatant ethics breach, blatant lying, blatant this, and it's like $2,500 fine, take a course. It's like, that's a white collar crime. Like literally people go to jail for stuff like that.
Yeah.
So this is better than the other extreme.
Yep.
We have a federal by-election. Yeah. I know you're going like, what's that? What are you talking about?
Explain.
So, okay. So just our political landscape goes without saying in massive shift in the US in the last week.
Yep.
There's been change brewing in Canada for a long time now. All of the polls are indicating that, you know, most Canadians would like a change in government. We'd love an election. Let's get this over with. There's a lot of things that have happened in the last, 6 to 9 months in our, Canadian government where the tide has turned, things have shifted. There was a by-election won by the Conservatives in a 20-year long stronghold Liberal riding in Toronto, and Liberals lost it. And then there was another one in Manitoba. That was a tight race between the NDP and the Conservatives, and the Liberals weren't even in the conversation because they're deemed to be a laughing stock, I think, in that riding. And the Conservatives lost it by like a C hair. Whereas in the last election, they lost it by a landslide.
Yeah.
Here's a Cloverdale riding where in 2021, which was when Trudeau called his COVID election, he took advantage of an opportunity.
Yep.
Read my...
We get it.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Everybody does.
So these were the results in 2021. So the then Liberal winner had 20,877 votes. The Conservative second place, Tamara Jensen, who's running again, had 19,223. She had 36.1% of the vote. The Liberal guy had 39.2% of the vote. Okay. This is like sleepy Christmas time. No one knows what's going on. Every vote counts. This is in our brokerage's backyard. Like our Fleetwood office and our South Surrey offices are technically outside, but our agents all sell in this marketplace. If you look up the Cloverdale map, this is literally our backyard. Not to mention our Abbotsford and Chilliwack, and people all sell there too.
Yep.
We need to pay attention to this. We need to, assuming you have an opinion on what you want to have happen federally, you should mobilize, talk about it, discuss this with people in your life that it's important. Anybody who has the ability to vote in this riding should be voting and having everyone they know vote in the direction that we want it to go.
If you're just listening to this, Andrew's staring at the camera.
I'm just saying, Tamara Jensen, while I don't know her personally, seems like a really good person.
Yeah.
Who I would love to have in power in that riding. So here's the problem. Like, this thing was won by a C hair. People aren't going to be paying attention to this.
Who calls these?
Well, they have to be called when, so what happens is the guy who won, I can't remember, Aldag or whatever, he's retiring. That seat's been vacant. You can't have a seat sit vacant while you have a sitting government, which we have. And so they have a certain amount of time where they must call a by-election. So this has happened. This happens all the time through the course of a 4-year run of power. But a lot of times in by-elections, they don't flip. Seats don't flip, right? They just, they stay with the party. But seats are flipping. They have been flipping. And this is the kind of thing that will further put pressure on the existing government to have an election.
Right.
Like the pressure is like at an all-time high. The relationship between the NDP and the Liberals broke down long ago. The Bloc are now, they kind of put a knife to the Liberals saying, we're not supporting you anymore. But if we could have another Liberal seat fall, that's just another thing to apply pressure to get change in government. Change in government means change in economic and real estate policy, which could be a good thing because we all know what we've been through both at the provincial and federal level with some policies that virtually none of us agree with over the course of the last few years. So this stuff is like very meaningful to us, and we need to not fall asleep and pay no attention to it. We're stakeholders. Mobilize people you know, talk about it, use your social media presence, use your client relation presence, and make sure that you are encouraging the vote that you think should be encouraged. I'm not telling you which way you have to go.
No.
I'm just staring in the camera very seriously. Okay, so that's that. One last news item. And this is way out down the line, but there's good reason why I'm pointing this out way out down the line. 2025 Royal LePage National Sales Conference.
Yeah, it's in.
We are relatively new to the Royal LePage family. So last year's sales conference, which they happen in September, we didn't have a strong showing at it because, you know, we're fairly new.
Yep.
We didn't know how fast these things sell out.
Which is crazy fast. Yep.
We weren't used to conferences selling out.
No, not that fast.
These conferences sell out. They're highly attended in the, like well over 1,000 people, and they're unbelievable. So this last, I have got to go to one, a different one, but I've gotten to go to like a broker one and then a smaller one in late 23, which we were really new at that point in time. And that conference at that time was completely sold out. And I just got in because we were new and someone got me a ticket. So I got to taste it and touch it and see what it was like. Then 2024 rolls along. We weren't prepared for the fact that these things sell out literally in 24 to 48 hours. Yeah. And so we only had, I think, 4. It was also small. It was a small venue. They because
had
it was
tickets.
In Calgary.
Yes.
But they still had over 1,000 people attend.
I know that. I'm just saying that it was limited in the
It was limited spots, and it'll be, but here's the thing. It's still going to be limited. It'll be less limited.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a hot ticket, and here's why. So September 10, 11, 12, 2025, Nashville, Tennessee. This is a bucket list for a lot of people. I should say, if you are not in the Royal LePage Facebook group, you should get into the Royal LePage Facebook group. There's a couple different ones.
There's one main one.
There's a main one. There's also a
referral one.
There's a referral one. There's a concert goers one as well. So if you just want to be in the queue on what's going on in conferences, join that one too. Because that gives like details, speakers, activities, stuff like that. And then you just a part of the excitement that's ramping up and you hear about what's going on. Tickets are going to go on sale in March of 2025. From a brokerage level, we want to be prepared for this, which means come the new year, we're going to start to formulate a group within our brokerages within our offices that have interest in going, so that we are ready by the end of February. We know, is it 15 people? Is it 25 people? Is it 30 people? Whatever it is,
get tickets.
And we're going to be ready so that when that hits, nobody's left on the outside.
Yep.
We're all going together. It'll be that much more fun. And
I'm just going to say it's called RLP Nation.
That's the Facebook group.
Yes.
So get on RLP Nation. And then there is an RLP conference goers.
Yep. There's also the Canadian Referral Network.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know about the conference one.
That one's really cool because it lies dormant, obviously, for half the year. But then by the time you get to March next year, it's awesome. It's a very good group. It's very active. People are talking about the things they're doing, what they're organizing. Most of you have not been to these conferences before, and I can tell you these conferences are mind-blowing. From a generosity perspective, an insane amount of money is raised for RLP Shelter Foundation.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like tear-jerking kind of stuff, what goes on. But then from a learning and activity perspective, they're as good as they're better than what I've seen before. There is a tremendous amount of detail and planning that go into these things, and something that is unique to Royal LePage, which is one of the things that we really, really love, is that it's a very bottom-up mindset, not a top-down mindset.
Yep.
So in many other conferences, it's top-down in that, the brass are deciding what we're going to do, what we're going to learn, whatever. At RLP conferences, there's an entire day dedicated to agent-organized activities. So agents in the months leading up step up and say, I'm going to organize this or I'm going to organize that, to the tune of like there might be an entire day where there's 30 to 40 different activities that are agent driven. So like in the Calgary conference, it was local Calgary agents that organized things that are unique to Calgary. And then everybody did those things together. You sign up for them, and it's just an incredible bonding experience, and everything from like cooking classes to 4x4ing quads. Like it's nuts, the amount. And so now it's going to be in Nashville.
Which,
so it's going to have.
My understanding is this is the first time they've gone down to the States.
They have,
at least in a long
time. They have been down before, and some people have seen in some of the Facebook groups.
Me too.
There are some people that are complaining about going to the U.S. and then why are we going to the U.S. And then there's the whole
so many more people,
and then you get the Trump comments like I don't want to go down there. Trump won, blah blah blah. Here's the reality: Canada does not have the facilities, or at least enough of them, to support this size of conference. Yep. We've got Vancouver, yes, we've got Toronto, but you want to know something? Vancouver and Toronto, wicked expensive.
So expensive.
It's actually cheaper to go to a U.S. venue, even with the airfare, than it is to put everybody up at a Fairmont Pacific Rim across from the convention center in Vancouver, or similar downtown Toronto. Not to mention, the reason Nashville's been chosen is because for years, people within the network have been requesting Nashville.
Oh, cool.
Nobody wants to go to Vegas. Vegas is like where all the other people go.
Yeah.
It's too big. You lose everybody. It's like, it's gross. Nashville, I've been. I took my daughter there.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
16th birthday, Taylor Swift tickets, greatest dad of all time. We did that last spring, May. We won the lottery. We got Taylor Swift tickets. It was unbelievable. I took her there for 5 days. Nashville is all of the excitement that Vegas has, minus the smut, is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
So like you're to the point where I could walk around and hang out with my 16-year-old daughter until late in the evening. Yeah. And I felt totally comfortable doing it. Yeah. You know what's cool about the bars in Nashville? So like if you want to go and take your family, and probably my family will come down to this conference, the bars are open to minors until it's either 9 or 10 p.m. Probably 9, probably not
Interesting.
10. So cool. So like I still got to do the Nashville bar experience with a 16-year-old. She's in a bar. There's no difference except the time of day. Yeah. She was in a fully licensed establishment. Everyone around is drinking and eating whatever they want. Live bands from morning until night. And then they kick out the minors at 9 p.m. And of course things get turned later at night.
Cool.
But I think I've said enough. There we go. So January, we're going to organize, mobilize, whatever. And then so by the time we get to March, we can't be standing around in March going, I wonder if I'm going. Yeah. Everyone's got to be committed. We know what we're doing. And then on a brokerage level, we'll make sure we organize it and get it locked down, talk about flights, all that kind of stuff.
Cool.
There's a cost to this, obviously. Yep. It is well worth the investment. So we'll talk more about those details in the new year.
Sweet.
I've been rambling a lot. Do you want to say anything? Do you have anything to say about?
We got training. I don't know if you're talking about like upcoming stuff. We have training coming up. I don't have.
No, that's fine. You don't have to.
I ran into a brain block yesterday. My brain's a little spent when we had the office meeting.
Well, you've been converting. You've been converting systems.
Yeah, we have some good stuff coming, but.
Okay. Well, now that you mentioned it, I'll just say. So I did the first day of the last module of 7 Pillars of a Successful Agent, our boot camp. That was last week. I'm redoing that again. That is mastering communication and developing a database-driven business model.
Yep.
That is this coming Tuesday, which 19th. Is the 19th of November in our Surrey location. Last week was in Abbotsford. If you came to the Abbotsford one and you want to come again to recap, you're more than welcome to. If you missed it and because you're more of our Surrey, Langley people and Surrey's a better location for you, awesome. Come on out. We will be having lunch again Mexican, as well. I think. Mexican food afterwards. Starts at 10 a.m. Probably goes all the way till about 11:30. PDP credits available. Points. We'll hang out. We'll eat together. And then I'll touch on what I'll spend the last few minutes of the class is touching on kind of like preparation for business planning. And then that's our next big thing happening December 3-4?
Yeah.
December 3-4. That's a Tuesday, Wednesday, back to back. Once in Abbey, once in Surrey again.
Tuesday will be the third will be in Surrey. That's Tuesday. And then the Wednesday, the 4th will be in Abbotsford.
Got it. And so this is, I don't want to sound like I'm over pumping it because I'm doing it, but it's really, really important. I've done this for years in the brokerage. I did it actually even before I was an owner. Like I did it a long time ago. It's been changed over time. You know, we adapt, we change, but the fundamentals are the same. But this is in depth. It's detailed. It's not just like philosophical. We'll actually go through how to do it, what to do, how to build out the plan, talk about different streams of revenue, pipelines, you know, and if you don't know what these things all mean, we'll lift the veil on the meaning of all those things. And the concept is that through the month of December, your plan, your implementation strategy, all your tactics, everything, it's all built out. It's done. You're not waking up on January the 4th going, what should I do?
Yeah.
On January the 4th, you're going, it's happening. And down to the detail of like, oh, I'm shooting 8 videos this year and here's where I'm shooting them and this is the equipment I'm using or this is who I'm having help shoot videos and my content is already, I might not have it all built out, but it's like been theorized in my head. Communication strategies with your database, the emails, the drip campaigns, secondary streams of revenue, whether it's business associations or sports teams you're involved in, or I don't know, maybe you're involved in your kid's school or whatever. All of these things completely built out. We'll cover it all in the business plan session. Probably what we'll do in sometime in early January is do one session of like a touch up. So the purpose of that is not to say, okay, now what should I do for business planning? It's everyone has built out their models. And then the session in January is more Q&A conversation amongst each other. Hey, I'm doing this. How would you guys tweak it? What do you think of this? Fire questions off me. How would you suggest I do this? But it's the tweaking of the final product.
Which even the training on the 3rd and the 4th has that too. I mean, they are all in person. They're not recorded. And that there's a reason to that. It's the human aspect, like the ability to ask questions and throw ideas out. And
totally. And you can't eat virtually either. No. You can only eat in person.
Yeah.
Or so I'm told. Yeah.
Do we have food at those ones?
At which ones?
At the 3rd and 4th?
Oh no, we didn't have food organized.
Well, we're still working on something, so there might be.
I might have just committed me to something.
You might have just committed us to food.
Bring a bag lunch.
Somehow there will be food.
Yeah. I'm making sure I got all my notes here. Oh yeah, look at that. See, I wrote a note and now I'm remembering it because the note's in front of me. So a person might ask, actually, you might ask, why is it important, Andrew, that we do business planning? So there's the obvious answers.
Why? Why would it be important to business planning? Thank you for
asking that.
Why can't I just wing it?
So I'm not going to give you the stock answer because everybody knows the stock answer. If you're not planning, you're planning to fail, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to assume that everybody in our brokerage knows the basic answer. Here's the deeper level answer, which I think is completely relevant. So even if you've never business planned your whole life, but you thought this year is going to be the year that I do it. The tide is turning in the market. We all know this. You know, whatever's going on in government, that's creating changes. The lending policy world, we've been in a recession. We're coming out of this recession. No one knows exactly when. We could be in the middle of the come out party already. Maybe it's going to be next spring. Bottom line is this. I'm willing to be as bold to say that there will be more transactions in 2025 than there were in 2024. Yeah. I would bet a lot of money on that. I might even bet Bitcoin on that. And I don't like giving away Bitcoin. So if you want to get more of the pie is going to grow. I can tell you what happens when markets grow. You know, so let's just say we go from an average number of transactions in the board of 1,000 a month to 1,500 a month or something like that. Keeping in mind that, you know, we've been at 3,000, but we're going to increase and probably by quite a lot. You don't get that extra piece of pie by staying status quo. You know who gets the extra pie? The top 10% or the top 5%. That's where the pie goes. I could show you lots of examples of agents who in 2021 and 2022 still struggled to get sales. The people who got the highest percentage of the pie were those that had the plans in place and who executed on the plans. So one cannot assume that if the sun comes out and things get better, that they're just automatically going to go from 8 transactions to 12 transactions or 12 to 18. You can go from 12 to 18. You can also go from 12 to 24. with a properly executed plan. So that is why you business plan, especially this year, because we know the pie is getting bigger, the opportunity is growing.
Right. I wonder why people don't. Like I was just thinking while you were talking.
Because it's hard.
I mean, yeah. Or they don't feel like they need it, maybe.
It requires, so it's hard and it's painful. It's hard because it's work, and it's not the type of work that most salespeople find easy.
Yeah.
Because it's administrative and it's painful. The reason it's painful is in the process, there is a self-reflection and admission of all the things that you didn't do that you should have done.
Right.
And it's easier to not do it.
Sure.
So but if you develop a habit of doing it, you do get to a point where each year you look forward to it because you realize that it leads to revenue. As painful as it is. And I go through it still every year. I analyze and I'm like, shit, I should have done a better job at that. Or I told myself I was going to do this and I didn't do it. Or I didn't plan it properly or whatever.
Right.
But it makes you money. And everybody loves money. Everybody loves more sales. But you don't just, and in theory you go like, well then why wouldn't everyone do it? Well, for the reasons I said, you got to break through that painful, hard process. Most good salespeople are garbage administrators and ops people.
Yep.
Right. And you have to, it takes work to plant those seeds and to develop those skills. It's not natural.
I would think
everybody will go to a meet. Like if everyone gets a call today and goes to go do a listing appointment, that's not painful.
Yeah.
I go do that. Now the success rate of the listing appointment can vary amongst agents for all for those types of reasons, but they don't find it hard, or most of them don't find it hard anyway.
Yep.
It is hard to sit down and reflect and then plan.
I would think though that it would feel good as you got into the year when you felt like you were actually following through on a plan. Like I feel like that
it feels amazing, but the vast majority of our industry never gets to that place.
Yep.
We're the plight of the real estate agent is we are cyclical like the market. And then, we get, when the market starts flowing, we get our version of busy, and everyone's version of busy is different, right? Depending on what you've handled before and what your capacity is. And then we do this for the majority of our career.
Yep.
But there are the few elite, and by elite, I don't mean the people that sell 70 homes. There's elite people that sell 20 homes, but their 20 sales are like this, no matter the market.
Yeah.
It's like, what's that saying about a duck paddling amongst water? They're just gliding, but their feet are going like crazy. Elite it's not a statement of your volume. It's a statement of your processes.
Right.
And there's people that I know who are elite who sell 20 homes. And then there's people who are elite who sell 70.
Yep.
But their processes are absolutely nailed and they have a plan and they follow the plan.
Cool.
Yep.
Well, come out December 3rd and 4th.
December 3, 4. Okay. Best practice. Here's a best practice nugget. Forecasting.
Okay.
So I was on a call. It was actually one of my meetings earlier today. So I have a, what's the word again? Mentor. Yeah, mentor. I have a mentor. I have a coach. I have someone that I see regularly. And this person closed out the meeting. There's a few of us on the call, me and a few other people. And he says, make sure you're with me in December, the whatever day it was, the next meeting. We're going to be doing our 2025 forecasting. And then I was going to be you're also going to receive my report. My report is, and this is him talking, my forecast for 2025 and all the data and evidence to support it. And then what he does is, he has this meeting and then he has a bunch of other clients and he reaches out for personal conversations about his forecast. And of course, as he's doing this, the light bulb's going on and I'm thinking about everything from, our agent's perspective and even my own perspective. And I'm thinking like, this is forecasting and state of the union or whatever you want to call it, I think is not something that's common practice in our industry, but why not? Like, this is the moment in time when you've heard me say this recently. We have no shortage of reasons to be reaching out and having conversations. Conversations lead to increased relationship adds value, and therein lie the transactions. Between now and the end of the year, we should be forecasting for our clients.
When you say that, what do you mean?
Develop your philosophy on what the 2025 real estate landscape is going to look like. So in thinking about this, I think the objection to this would be like, well, what if I'm wrong?
Sure.
It doesn't matter. When I realized, when the light bulb went on in this meeting today, I realized that this gentleman's been forecasting for 10 years, or longer. I'll bet you if I go back and look at his forecasts, he's probably not even right 50% of the time. He might be kind of right,
sure,
or kind of wrong each year. That doesn't matter. We all I want to be led, right? Like here, I'm a leader in my own right. I'm a leader with my clients. I'm a leader with agents in the office, but I want to be led. We all need to be led. We all need to be led, and we all need to be leaders. So he is one of my resources for information. Sometimes I take what he shares with me and carbon copy it. Other times I chew on it and I go, I think this for my market or whatever. Doesn't matter. What I value about the relationship and what really gives me value is there's somebody that I know, love, and trust who's discerning the data on my behalf and giving me something high value. And he's reaching out to me and giving that to me. We need to be doing this for all of our relationships. This is a reason for a touch point. It's high value. And the people that follow us, you, the agents here, this is one of the things they want from you. Now, maybe they're not accustomed to getting it. And that's not been the dynamic of the relationship that you've had with them to this point. That doesn't matter. There's never a better time to start.
Yeah.
And this is a time of like total uncertainty, right? There's never been a better time to speak up and have a voice with the people that know, love, and trust you. So
when you say that, are you taking some sort of like statistical information or data and then developing an opinion and then opening up that for conversation? Is that the purpose of it?
Yeah. So like what I'm like, this is all just like in my brain now, but like I'm going to alter what I'm thinking I would do in my communication strategy with my clients to include an element of this. I've always done like a new year communication, which does touch on, I would say it's a light forecast.
Sure.
What I'm suggesting is I think it's valuable to develop a deeper thought out forecast. And then what that means for, you would pick your market that's relevant. Like if a lot of your people live in the Eastern Fraser Valley or South Surrey or whatever, you would maybe pick what's relevant and say, here's what I'm forecasting. And then I'm going to even include like maybe like 3 stock properties. Here's what, generally speaking, they're worth today. Here's what I think they're going to be worth by the end of 2025. And more importantly, here's what they cost on a monthly basis today. Here's what I think it's going to cost on a monthly basis, factoring in those things by the end of 2025. And then wherein lie the opportunities for your clients in the marketplace?
Right.
Maybe the greater opportunities in condos, maybe it's in pre-sales, maybe it's in acreages, maybe it's in, I don't know.
Are you getting that specific? Would you?
I'm going to.
Yeah, you
I have never gotten, well, I shouldn't say, I've gotten that specific in conversations. I've never gotten that specific in a broad communication. Yeah. But I think what I'm suggesting, because this is what I get from my mentors, I actually get a specific forecast. And it's on his forecast to me is on a national scale because he deals with national clients like myself, but we should be doing this regionally. And it's a beautiful reason to be in touch. It's absolutely going to drive further conversation, like without question. And this is the role that you play in your client's life. Let me phrase that a different way. It's the role that you have the ability to play in your client's life. I would say many of our people of our industry are not playing that role, but I think those that are utilizing best practices are, and I think the results probably speak for themselves. There'd be no
Well,
way.
you even just, I don't remember when you did your last one, but we had a conversation about the fact that it drove conversation. And I think you had a deal or something that came out of that.
Well,
that
yeah,
one thing.
I did a, so yeah, last month I did like my regular, or it was actually in September, I did a client communication
Yeah.
where I, did a little blurb in the email, shot a video, and it was based around changing interest rate environment.
Yep.
That's going back like 60 days. So like it was a little bit different then,
Mhm.
but
it did drive communication.
it created, so I sent it out to roughly 260 people. It created, off the top of my head, I think it created 6 conversations, 1 immediate listing appointment. That's going to be a listing in the new year. And then 2 other conversations that are going to lead to purchase transactions sometime in the next 0 to 6 months.
Yep.
Like, and you could say, well, would I have gotten that anyway? Well, maybe, but I don't know. And the bottom line is the phone rang like 3 days after the email.
Yeah.
So that's what I do. And that's the argument for ongoing communication with database throughout the year.
Yep.
But I'm talking specifically about a forecast.
Mm-hmm.
And a forecast is really relevant right now. I can't think of in the last 21 years, there might've been, the 2008, 2009
yeah.
was a real turning point. And then you could argue too, like the COVID year of like 2020 to 2021,
Mhm.
that was also for different reasons, a huge shift.
Yep.
But there's a huge shift that's going on. We're on the verge of the market changing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everyone, myself included, is afraid to go like, well, are we heading back up? Like,
Yeah.
is it going to go nuts again? And then there's the layers of like the federal politics, US politics, what the new government means for, trade and tariffs in Canada, but it also might open up pipelines that we haven't had. Like there's all these things going on, right?
Yeah.
Canadian dollar dropping, Bitcoin's going nuts, like whatever. But we got to talk about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to be an expert. You just have to be someone who's paying attention
Yeah.
so that you can give an opinion that's somewhat educated.
Yeah.
And no one's expecting us to be perfect on everything, but they're expecting us to bring value and have an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Too often I see people in our industry, and I mean our industry broadly. So like mortgage brokers, lawyers, realtors, we're like Manila. We don't say anything. We want people to transact with us, but then when we're pressed and say, well, what's going to happen? We give this like, well, it could go up, it could go down. That's crap. When you do that, you're exactly that. You're nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm suggesting is that you need to take a stance and don't be afraid of being wrong. There's nothing wrong with taking a stance, making a projection. 6 months later, you look at you read the tea leaves, you go, that was wrong. But then guess what? That's another reason to get in front of your people and to say, breaking news, the prediction that I made in January turned out to not be correct.
Mm-hmm.
And here's why. There's some things that went down that nobody predicted, but it's okay. I'm here for you. I'm getting in front of this stuff the best I can. And here's now what I'm predicting based on current events.
But you are basing it on something. That's what I mean. Like
100%.
Because when that person calls you up to say like, ask you about it, you've got something that is a reason for why you're sort of thinking that direction. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I would say, from what I hear on the street about when you hear consumers talk about, you'll hear a consumer rave about an agent, and then you'll hear a consumer not rave about an agent, or worse yet, not even talk about an agent,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because they're gone from their memory and they're never going to deal with them again. Maybe not because they suck, but because they were Manila.
Mm-hmm.
They were nothing. The ones that rave because they believe they have an in to a level of intelligence and insight that they otherwise wouldn't
Right.
have.
Yep.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't go, my agent is right 100% of the time. They say, my agent is speaking a language that I've never heard an agent speak before.
Right.
It's a higher level of communication. Don't be afraid. And you can be wrong. We're all wrong. We're all human. We can all be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
What we can't be is Manila. And say, or you can, but then you can expect the results that
Right.
Manila get.
Cool.
Rant over.
Forecast away.
Forecast away. that's all I had, unless we have any other housekeeping.
Christmas party.
Christmas party. We have room available.
Yes, not a ton, but there is. So
there
make
is
sure
room
you're
available. I made a pull or push for this in the office meeting. Year after year, especially last year, like people raved about party. They said it was amazing. I know it's hard to get out stuff. People don't want to go. Like whatever.
It's
we
fun,
find
and
reasons.
I hate going to stuff. And
Yeah,
I like going to
and
this
we
one.
do this
It's
for connection and camaraderie. We don't cheap out. We spend a lot of money.
Yep.
The meal's high level. The venue's great. We got a DJ. We got poker
Casino.
tables, casino. It's fundraising effort.
And they teach you how to play.
I want to say we have about 15, 20 spots.
I don't know exactly how many. I was just talking to
Something
Christina
like
about
that.
it last night.
But I would love to see it filled up and even overflow. We can handle overflow.
Mhm.
So yeah, if you've got a conflict, maybe you can bump the conflict and move it to another night. I get it. It's a Saturday. It's November 30th. So
November
it's like
30th.
the first kind of like Christmas weekend.
We're trying to do it a little earlier so that
Yeah,
We're
we've been
outside
early.
of it.
We've been early December before, and so the way the calendar fell, we're November 30th this year, and
hopefully that's before
anyways,
too many big things. But
make it happen. Be a part of it. It's a great family time for everyone, and you won't be disappointed. I promise you that.
you won't be. It'll be fun.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
It's a wrap.
Okay. See you soon.